Hey, this is Travis Schubauer, and this is my book club assignment video. The book that I read for this assignment was called The Autistic Brain, which was written by Temple Grandin. Temple Grandin is a pretty well-known autistic person. I guess currently she is a professor of animal science at Colorado State University. She has earned her PhD, which I think is pretty incredible. She's the author of several best-selling books, including Thinking in Pictures, which was actually one of the options for this assignment, which I was going to read until I came across this book. And she also had a HBO movie based on her life, made in 2010, under the name Temple Grandin. It won 7 Emmy Awards, and basically just covered her life and all of the work that she has done in the animal field. She's probably most famous for her work in terms of developing humane and practices for slaughterhouses. Something about her, just for some reason, her and animals just kind of go together really well, and she was able to quickly just identify the problems in a slaughterhouse almost without thinking, and just basically revolutionized the industry and made it what it is today. So talk about the book a little bit. Very good book, interesting read, and as you're reading, it's kind of I kind of keep reminding myself that a person with autism actually wrote this book, and sort of changed what my conceptions were, or preconceived notions were of what autistic people are and what they can do. And I think that's why she is so famous for all the work that she has done. She's sort of on the forefront of proving to people that people with autism are capable of some pretty incredible stuff. One of the favorite features of the book were she had a lot of diagrams, a lot of pictures, which were taken from sort of sample questions that you would get if you were going in to be screened for autism, and then she would describe sort of what a person with autism would see and what a normal brain would see, which again I think is a pretty cool concept for somebody with autism to sort of have a grasp on the fact that what she sees is not what a normal mind sees. So to be that self-aware is something I find really interesting. Those pictures were very cool. She talked a lot about the history of autism, which our book covers a little bit, talking about where it's come from the 1940s to sort of the spectrum of autism we have today. She also talked about how the strength of people with autism is almost, if not more important than the deficits of people with autism. She talked a lot about how we need to do better work on highlighting the strengths of people with autism instead of trying to focus so much on their deficiencies. And I guess how I think of that in terms of a education standpoint would be a lot of autistic people, again, this is coming from the book, are more think in pictures, are more artistic driven instead of more word or like literature or language driven. And so instead of having people with autism work on their reading and writing all the time, it's a good idea to incorporate some art projects and things that don't require them to write or read to express themselves, because that's what they are good at. And when you're good at something, obviously you feel more comfortable, and that's going to come with more self-confidence. And if you're good at something, then I think you're more likely to dive into it a little bit more, and they probably get more out of it educationally. So yes, it is important to work on those deficits and try to make them better readers and writers, because those are very important life skills, but at the same time, we don't want to take away from their strengths and what they are good at, because those are important and just as well. As I was reading this book, I constantly kept thinking back to a student I had when I was student teaching for my physical education degree, and his name was Dylan. He was autistic, and two things that thinking back on that he has, that she talked about in the book, were sort of a fixation on certain things, and his thing was the color blue. So any equipment we used in that class, if there was a blue one, he needed to have it. If he didn't have it, he'd throw a fit. And I picked up on that quite quickly, and eventually just handed him the blue equipment right away at the start of class, because I knew that's what he wanted, and I knew that's how I would get positive behavior from him. And the other thing is that he did not like loud noises, so I did not use my whistle in that class. The first couple times I did use my whistle, the first thing he did was cover his ears and put his head between his knees because something about the loud noises. And this was something that she talked about, Temple talked about affecting her as well, were noises. So I quickly learned to not use the whistle and try to, keep the volume in the classroom down, which sometimes could be difficult in a PE setting, but you just have to try your best. So to sort of conclude, the book was a very good book. I found it very easy to find my 20 pieces of information. I found it very easy to find articles and things out of our book to make connections. So from that sense, it was very well written and contained a lot of good information. And as for the future, as the articles I found and the Autistic Brain novel I read talked about, is that research is going to be very important in the future in order to sort of narrow down the causes of this disability. At the moment, they know it's caused partially by environmental factors and partially by genetic factors, but they haven't been able to narrow down exactly what those are, and if they ever are able to do that, that'll go a very long ways towards the prevention and treatment of this disability, and hopefully make it better for everybody involved. So that's all I got. Thank you.